All right, it's 7 o'clock. So if we could all take our seats, please, and we'll go ahead and jump into the regular board meeting this evening on March 10th for Hudsonville Public Schools. Nice to see everybody here this evening. Lots going on. Let me see. The girls are playing the regional finals tonight versus Rockford, correct? You beat them 10 times, but it doesn't matter. Okay, I'm being told not to jinx it. Okay, and then we got the Spartans already started at 6:30, so Larry's going to be pushing us along here so we can catch the end of that game. So lots going on, but thanks for being here this evening. Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. All board members are present. Next up, we have approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion and second, please, to approve the agenda? So moved. So moved. Our motion by Steve Bauer. Support from Chad Tuttle. Any questions or comments on the agenda? Okay, all in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Next, we will have a moment of silence out of care and concern for the Ukrainian citizens who are affected by the crisis in their country that's going on now. So if we could take a moment of silence, please. Thank you, everyone. Okay, next up we have a student council report. Annie, I think, is here. Yes, she is.
Is it working? Got
Yep.
it. Hello. I actually have someone to introduce. She's sitting right behind Robin. She will be PRO next school year. She's just here to kind of see how everything goes and how everything's worked. She's awesome. She got elected as a sophomore, so I think that says a lot about her. As for student council, throughout these past couple weeks, my committee has been in the works of planning our academic rally. We haven't done one of these in a while just because of COVID. Only this year it's going to look a little bit different than past years. We're trying to focus more on students with gold and blue renaissance. This will be something for students who possibly want to achieve this, so that's why we're doing that. We're still in the process of planning it, but we're so excited. We actually have some upcoming events. We have our last school blood drive on March 21st. We have the Riverbank Run on May 14. We need tons of volunteers, so spread the word. And finally, we have our summer blood drives coming up June 9 and August 10. That is all I have. Any questions?
Excellent. And I know you introduced her last meeting, but I'm sorry, your name again is?
Briella.
Briella.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Well, welcome.
Yes, welcome. We look forward to seeing you next year. Yes. I'm glad to hear we're doing blood drives all through the summer as well. That's great.
Yep, it'll be awesome.
Yeah, that's good.
Yep.
Other questions or comments? So this isn't your last meeting. You'll be here
No, for
the end of the school
April,
year.
yep,
Yeah,
till the end of
okay.
the school year. Yeah.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Annie while we have her? Okay, thank you. Great update.
Thank you.
Okay, next we move on to action items. First up is the consent agenda. Can I have a motion and second, please, to approve the items in the consent agenda? Motion by Bart.
I support that.
Support from Mark. Questions, comments, clarifications? Okay, all in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Next, we move on to regular action agenda. First up, we have Superintendent Evaluation. I'm going to go ahead and read the evaluation this evening, and then we will take a motion and second to approve as read, and then we'll open up for comments from the board, and then we will take a roll call vote. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into this. Per Michigan Revised School Code Section 1249 and 1249B, if a superintendent receives a rating of highly effective on 3 consecutive annual evaluations, the Board of Education may choose to conduct the superintendent's statutory evaluation biannually instead of annually, allowing the Board of Education to forego an evaluation under the code sections 1249 and 1249B in the 4th year. Dr. Vanderjack received highly effective ratings in 2018-2019, 2019-2020, and 2020-2021. The Hudsonville Public Schools Board of Education has determined to forego a rated statutory evaluation in contract year 2021-22 as permitted by code sections 1249 and 1249B. However, in the spirit of collaboration, communication, and continuous improvement, the Board of Education used the MASD Superintendent Evaluation tool to complete a non-rated 2021-2022 assessment of the Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Doug Vanderjack's performance. The evaluation structure overview. The evaluation is divided into 3 sections, with the weighting factors as noted. Professional practice is 50% of the overall score. Student growth is 40% of the overall score. Progress toward district-wide goals is 10% of the overall score. The ratings by section. The professional practice category is further divided into 5 sections listed below. Scoring in these 5 sections for the 2021 year is as follows. Note that the maximum score for each section is 4.0. First section, governance and board relations, was a 3.0. Community relations was a 3.3. Staff relations a 3.9. Business and finance a 4.0. And finally, instructional leadership a 4.0. The average score of the professional practice category is 3.7. The student growth and progress toward district-wide goals categories were scored as follows out of a score of 4.0 in each category. Student growth 4.0, progress toward district-wide goals 4.0. Accomplishments and areas of improvement. The board wishes to recognize the areas of significant contribution made by Dr. Vanderjack. Highly proficient management of the ongoing issues related to COVID-19. Examples include number of in-person school days over the past 1.5 school years relative to other districts, and creation and implementation of technology one-to-one plan. Second, thorough and timely communication with parents and staff on state and county COVID-19 requirements and district COVID-related actions, as well as ongoing building projects. Third, highly visible within the district and community, extensive time spent in buildings, frequent attendance at extracurricular events, and effective representation at various community and ISD meetings. Number 4, strong collaboration with neighboring districts, OAISD, local universities, and state government colleagues, and effective advocacy to support an effective environment of education. Number 5, availability and willingness to engage with parents and community members through email, phone, and in-person visits related to student and district topics. Number 6, development of positive staff relationships, promotes leadership skills and opportunities within staff. Number 7, fostering of a collaborative relationship with the HEA, which led to a 3-year contract with teachers and separately with transportation department staff. Number 8, effective recruitment of new talent. HPS has maintained its reputation as a destination district. Number 9, he has added supporting resources to our buildings and classrooms, such as PBIS personnel. Number 10, with the assistant of the superintendent of finance, managed through a challenging financial period for state and local governments to ensure the best possible impact to the district. The district financial position is strong, and the recent audit had the highest possible outcome, and the bond projects are off to an excellent start. Number 11, convinced 2 major townships to conduct a special millage election in person in May of 2021. Number 12, led the planning with GMB and OAK and numerous HPS staff for the new 5-6 building and HPS and HS high school additions. This preparation led to a savings when projects were submitted for bid. And number 13, implemented a multi-year financial forecast in March of 2021. Since at least 2014, the board credit reports contained a note that a multi-year forecast was needed for the district, and we finally got that done. In the spirit of continued growth and development, the board has discussed opportunities for Dr. Vanderjack and with Dr. Vanderjack to be even more effective during the 2022 calendar year and beyond. Those opportunities: number 1, ensure all board members have common information on important district topics in a timely manner. In addition, increase transparency with parents and district community members in the area of curriculum and policy. The board will support this through a change to committee of the whole work sessions versus separate, smaller committees. Number 2, given the activity around COVID-19, i.e. education plans, masking requirements, one-to-one technology implementation, staffing pressures, and bond projects, the finite resources of the district are stretched too broadly to support this work. Prior to initiating significant programs, the district should further evaluate resources to determine the most appropriate timing of implementation of new programs. Number 3, ensure the board has full understanding of new programs, including when a board vote is not needed for implementation. Provide notification prior to program start, and then provide periodic reviews and updates on key findings and outcomes. Number 4, the board identified opportunity for enhanced communication and transparency surrounding the former contract with Culture Creative. Leverage those learnings for future contracts to ensure board awareness of the scope of the contracts and substance of material, especially for any consultants related to educational content. And number 5, the board understands that in a district as large and robust as Hudsonville that there will be friction with certain decisions and would ask that questions and challenges made to the superintendent and administrative team are met with curiosity and responses designed to teach, promote, understanding, and move the district in a unified direction. The board and staff share a common goal of educating our children, and the superintendent must work to bring all parties together to achieve that goal. Last section, forward actions. To support continued success, the board will conduct evaluation updates in the following time frame per MASB recommendations. At 3 months, there'll be an informal quarterly status update, and then at 6 months, there'll be a formal mid-year review, including district team input, using the method agreed upon by the board and superintendent. And again, those are in alignment with MASB recommendations. Finally, the Board of Education has confidence in Dr. Vanderjack's ability and is grateful for his leadership and is eager to partner with him on opportunities to be even more effective in his continued leadership of the district. Signed, Hudsonville Public Schools Board of Education. So with that, may I please have a motion and second to approve the evaluation as presented by myself?
So moved.
Motion by Steve Bowerman. Support from Dawn Sneeden. I'll open it up to comments or questions from the board at this time. Yes, I'm sorry, yes. Oh, okay. Sorry, Dr. Mark.
Thank you. Unless I receive greater clarity from my fellow board members, I'm not able to support this motion. And in fairness to the board, to the administration, to the staff, to the students, and to the citizens of our district, I need to explain my inability to vote yes on this resolution. I'm fundamentally disturbed with the process our board has used in developing this performance appraisal. As you might know, this task has been the focus of multiple and lengthy discussions by the board. I believe the process has been ongoing for some 4 months, which is a record for my several decades on this board. On January the 11th, the board members received a summary of our first discussion about the evaluation. This was done after a consultation with Jay Bennett from the Michigan Association of School Boards, who commented on the summary saying that it looks good and comprehensive. After another 3-hour session was held on January 18th. The summary of that meeting was received on January 26th. Identical information came to the board again in a January 29th email. If I missed any communication on this matter between January 29th and March 4th, you'll need to remind me, but my next record is on March the 4th. This email is significant because it fails to include concerns that arose at the August 17th board meeting and those identified in the January 11th summary. Apart from the January 11th summary, that information would not be disclosed to the public. Here then are my concerns. There are 3 of them. Number 1, the assessment standards for the superintendent evaluation had become a moving target. The standards should have been established at the outset and remained firm throughout the process. Changing the standards during and after the evaluation process, even to the point of suggesting that there be no assessment, delegitimizes the process and the outcomes. This establishes a dangerous precedent. Such behavior would never be tolerated in a school classroom or in any workplace environment I'm aware of. Number 2, every step of the process should have been discussed and confirmed in a face-to-face meeting of the board. Telephone surveys between individual board members are not legitimate when making board decisions. Every board member needs the input and insight of every other board member. Iron sharpens iron. When a telephone poll is used, the summary of opinions from previous conversations can taint the outcome of a later conversation. It's possible to build a misleading consensus when there is no open exchange of ideas. The current situation is a case in point. In a March 3rd phone conversation, I was told that while I might not agree with the 2 suggestions, that they were supported by a majority of other board members. So it was clear that at that point, nothing I said would make any difference in the outcome. The changes made were secured, and the decision was firm before I was given the opportunity for input. My position as a trustee was effectively disregarded. No board can function honestly and safely when support is built through telephone calls to individual board members. They must meet as a body. Number 3, the board concerns which were listed in the January 11th version and omitted in the March 4th version are public matters. They arose in a public meeting and should not be sequestered to a closed session of the board, or even worse, disregarded without any open discussion. The public has a right to know the outcome of issues that are raised at open meetings. Further, the board has the responsibility of knowing why these concerns were omitted. So for these reasons I have indicated, I cannot support a resolution which is based on a process that is lacking in both transparency and integrity.
Other questions or comments from the board? I will add a clarification. There were no telephone polls that were taken to reach a decision on this evaluation. It was purely to seek input only. So I will end that clarification, and there was no disregarding of any board members' input into this process. So with all due respect, Mr. Davis, I would correct those two from my perspective items, but that's, your comments are duly noted.
I was quoting you.
And you quoted me correctly, and I did not say that I was disregarding your input.
You did not.
So I believe you took my quote incorrectly.
You said that you said you knew what my position would be, but that the decision had been made.
I did not say that. That is incorrect. That is an incorrect statement, Mr. Davis. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, with that, we will take a roll call vote to accept the motion that's on the table. Chad, answer me.
Yes.
Dawn.
Yes.
Ken Hall is yes. Bart? No. Martin? No. Steve?
Yes.
And Larry? Larry's yes. Okay. The motion passes 5-2. Thank you, everyone, for your input on that. Next, we move on to staff appreciation resolution. Dr. Vanderjack, you taking this?
Thank you. Usually the first week in May is determined as staff appreciation. We'd like to recognize our staff for all the work that they've done. We'll talk a little bit more about that later in the meeting. But because of that, we asked for the board to take a resolution to, I'll say, celebrate that week, and specifically Tuesday, May 3rd, on a day that we'd like to recognize our staff in their buildings. And I know Robin has sent some emails out to see if you're available on that day. We'll try to figure out what schedules work and who's available and who's not to get in our buildings and thank our staff for all the work that they've done. So I'm asking the board to approve a resolution to recognize our staff the first week of May, specifically Tuesday, May 3rd.
Okay, can I have a motion and a second that the board approve the Staff Appreciation Day resolution as reviewed by Dr. Vanderjack?
So moved.
Motion by Dawn Sneeden,
Support.
support from Barb Hooper. Questions or comments? Okay, all in favor of the motion, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carried. Next up, we have board policy revisions. Are you taking that?
No changes to the first reading of the policies. I did not receive any questions, concerns, or was regarding the one policy about the $5,000 limit. I did send out an email regarding that. So there are no changes. So we're recommending this for to approve the first reading as presented the last work session.
Okay, can I have the motion and a second that the board approve the first reading of the revisions to the board policy as reviewed in the recent work session?
So moved.
Motion by Chad. Support. Support from Steve. Questions or comments? All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carried. Next, we have textbook adoption. You taking this?
The textbooks adoptions are as reviewed at the last work session. There are no comments or changes to the recommendation, so we're recommending this as a second reading to the textbooks adoptions that came to the board as a first reading and previously at a work session.
Okay, can I have a motion and a second that the board approve the second and final reading of the textbook adoption for AP Biology and Middle School Social Studies as reviewed previously in work sessions and previous regular meetings?
So moved.
Motion by Steve Harmon.
Support.
Support from Larry Kapnica. Questions or comments? All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carried. Next, we have Baldwin Street Middle School water heater recommendations. Pat, you
Yes.
taking this? Or? Okay.
Thank you, Ken. So the issue was reviewed in detail at the last meeting. The only thing I'd like to highlight in the recommendation is that this, due to we had to start immediately, this is a emergency recommendation, and it suspends the bidding requirements required by school code. The board's allowed to do that if it's if the nature of the repairs basically puts student safety in danger. So that's all I have to add.
Okay. Can I have a motion that the board award a contract, or as reviewed by Mr. Briggs, award a contract to DHE Plumbing and Mechanical for not more than $116,000 to replace the hot water heater at Baldwin Street Middle School?
So moved.
Motion by Dawn.
Support.
Support from Chad. Questions or comments from the board? All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Baldwin Campus Weight Room. Okay.
Yeah. Again, this I would say we beat this to death at the last meeting, but there's no new information, and this is really giving us authority to move forward with design. The funds are available in the bond.
Okay. As Mr. Briggs noted, we reviewed this in the last work session, so can I have a motion that the board approve the recommendation for the Fieldhouse? That the board approve the recommendation for the Baldwin Campus Weight Room up to $725,905, again, as reviewed by Mr. Briggs.
I'll move that.
Motion by Mark,
Support.
support from Dawn. Questions or comments from the board?
Just a clarification, Pat, you said this allows us to start design. Will we subsequently have to award bids on this project?
We have the latitude to do this through changes to current contracts.
Okay.
So we won't, it's different than what I look at as a normal change order. We're extending with the people that we already have in the field, and it saves us that deployment charges. There's just a lot of cost savings to us, but we do have the latitude to do this within the current contractors on the job.
So tonight is an approval to a not to exceed number?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, in design, and but we're working with OAK and GMB. We'll work with our current contractors.
Thanks.
Other questions or comments?
On the way, Pat, can you remind me of the schedule on this? And breaking ground on this hopefully this summer, or?
Yes, our hope is to get the foundations and exterior wall done this summer, and then we would essentially have to suspend once fall sports start and get back into it after you win state championships.
Other questions or comments? Okay, we have a motion on the table. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Next, number 7, we have Fieldhouse scoreboard recommendations. Again, we looked at this at the work session. You want covering this?
Yes, we talked a lot about this at the last work session. I did have a chance, a team of us went to Hope College. I did communicate with the board. There's a lot to discuss about looking at the scoreboard. Just to clarify, Hope's scoreboard is a different kind of layout, but the middle sections what the scoreboard look like, I think the reference in what you were, so I sent a picture to the board about kind of a graphic. I don't know if you had a chance to see that. They are looking at updating that board. And they were hoping we would do something so they could look at it and figure that out. But we're having a lot of discussions about what that scoreboard would look like. I would ask the board to, so that we can make movement on this. However, I will say we're deep in conversations regarding some other structural concerns at the Fieldhouse. And before we actually finalize the purchase of the scoreboard, we want to make sure we've got everything else, all of our T's crossed and our I's dotted at the Fieldhouse from a structural standpoint. Not that I want to put in a low-cost scoreboard 5 years from now and put in a big scoreboard, but we're asking for approval tonight so that we can know what direction without having to wait another month or whatever from the board to go from there. So the request would be for the larger of the 2 scoreboards because it will fit in that area. From a high definition standpoint with the daylight that's in there, we are looking at making sure the clearance is the right amount from the floor to the bottom of that scoreboard. I think we have that figured out, and I'll be able to provide some more details about that as we get farther down the line. We're still trying to work with some of those, what that looks like from the height, from the floor height to the ceiling, from volleyball to basketball to assemblies. Our kids hit hard. We don't want to hit the scoreboard with volleyball or basketball. I don't know if that answers a lot, but looking at, from that day, we did go to Hope College and went from there. We went to West Ottawa. We went to Unity Christian. We've since been to Byron Center, Granville. There's one more. Holland, sorry. I looked at some of the dimensions, what they have going on there. I think every gym we go to now, we're looking at floor stripes, we're looking at trusses, we're counting bricks all the time because every brick's 8 inches high. So that's the recommendation from.
Okay, can I have a motion that the board approve the recommendation of the Fieldhouse scoreboard up to $462,000 as presented by Dr. Vanderjack and reviewed in the work session? Motion?
So moved.
Motion by Dawn.
Support.
Support from Steve. Questions, comments from the board? Okay, all in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Next up, storage facility recommendation. Again, we talked about this in the scoreboard, or no, work session, I'm sorry. Mr. Briggs, are you taking this?
Sure. Again, this facility is a district-wide storage facility. It's needed, and we have the budget to do it. This allows us to move forward with design. We're still, the site we're exploring may be in the way of some other future plans of the district. So we ask for your approval to design and build this, but we may hold off a summer or two until we decide on other projects and other needs for the high school campus. But we just want to get the team geared up, and we will locate and build the facility when we know all the master planning plans, long-term plans for the high school campus.
Okay. Can I have a motion that the board approve the storage facility recommendation for a cost of up to $375,720 as reviewed by Mr. Briggs?
So moved.
Motion by Barb, support from Chad. Questions or comments? Again, Doug and Pat, there's a couple of these now that there's some moving pieces, and we'll be evaluating, so the board will we'll review with these, again, as the pieces of the puzzle come together and what we're going to spend on what, right? Okay. Other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Next up, we have controls bid recommendation. Mr. Briggs?
Yes. So no change to the recommendation. But we were asking, you'll see with a later item, to bring back a budget review for like second stage projects, second phase projects within the bond. We're selling our bonds in 2 series, Park, Bauer, and ECC. We're phase 2, and I'll get to that report later on, but we were asked if we had the funds to do that, and we do in the bond.
Okay, can I have a motion that the board approve the bid recommendation for controls replacement and programming not to exceed $5,444,300 as reviewed by Mr. Briggs and in the work session?
So moved.
Motion by Steve.
I'll support that.
Support from Mark. Questions or comments? And again, this is a not to exceed, up to. Questions or comments? Okay, all in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Next, we have 5-6 building administrator recommendation. You got that?
Yes, as you recall, a couple years ago, almost to the month, we had talked about naming a building principal for the 5-6 building so that we were prepared for all the challenges that will come as we start to staff and finalize and get schedules together and get really ready for 4th and 5th graders to move into a 5-6 building over the summer of 2023. We had some delay because of COVID and the unknown and construction and all of those phases. So we continue to push that back. We're to a point where we'd like to recommend a building principal for the 5-6 building. That will start in that building the fall of 23. However, we'll begin the work as the building principal the fall of 22, which is this coming fall. The recommendation would be for Mrs. Melanie McClure to be the new building principal at the 5-6 building. She would spend next year working with Mrs. Armstrong regarding staffing, working with Mrs. Taylor regarding curriculum, working with Mr. Briggs regarding budget and supplies, furniture, what that building looks like. We would put her at Baldwin Middle School because of the proximity of the location, not only to the 5-6, but in the north end of the district. She'll spend time in the 4 elementary buildings, but also spend a lot of time working with the south end of the district so we can maintain our consistencies with programs. I had a chance to meet with her staff today to let them know that we would be recommending this to the board tonight. Their only saving grace with those that are here, they're going to try to protest to stop her from being the building principal. I see you back there, but thanks for not bringing signs. I thought you were going to bring signs. So there's a lot of not too many dry eyes in the room. She has been a tremendous leader in the district. Her experiences in this realm when it comes to some of her past experiences in Indiana with opening a new building, not only experiences at the junior high and middle school level, but at the K-6 level, which feeds into the 5-6, and what she's done in this district as an elementary principal over the last several years. We think she'd be a great fit. I know that her colleagues also respect her as much as our central office, and I know our board thinks very highly of her also. So with that, we'd like to recommend Mrs. Melanie McClure as the building principal at the 5-6 building at Georgetown for next school year, even though it doesn't open for the following year.
Okay, can I have a motion that the board approve the 5-6 building administrator recommendation of Melanie McClure as reviewed by Dr. Vanderjet?
So moved.
Motion by Barb,
Support.
support from Dawn. Questions or comments? Now's your time, chance for it. Okay, all in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Congratulations, Melanie. We're very, very happy for you.
So just for clarification, now that Melanie is the principal, we'll work on posting that position and getting that out. We would like to start that process now so that shortly after spring break, we can go through the interview process, get somebody on so that the staff can get a chance to meet the person, they'd be ready to go come summer. We'll look both internal and external as we work on this process. Thanks.
Okay, great. Next up, we have some human resource items. Ms. Armstrong, are you taking these?
Yep.
Okay.
Good evening. Well, the last board meeting, you guys approved a lot of positions for me, and we are going. So these first 2 positions are both new that came out of the hard work with basically everybody. Really kudos to Andy for getting everything in. So I bring 2 positions to the board tonight. The first one is a social worker position, Katie Gentry. Katie has been interning with Sarah Feenstra and Emily Nagelkirk throughout the district at Allward throughout this school year, and just has done a really tremendous job. She is going to start right away at Baldwin and just help with some different situations and just being another hand and great educator there at Baldwin for this year, and then next year, the 22-23 school year, she will get a caseload and go into the special ed. So this year, she's going to work with students that have needs for social work that are not under a special ed kind of umbrella. And then next year, she'll work with students more within that special ed umbrella, because we'll have those different PBIS resources in place next year. So Katie Gentry is her name, and I will apologize for 100%. I own that she's not here tonight. Being out last week, I just slipped my mind, so I apologize for that. It's completely on me. And then the next person that I would like to recommend to the board tonight, this is for the NTSS coordinator. As you know, that we're going to hire 11 NTSS building interventionists, and so we need someone to help kind of shore the ship. So we are recommending Kathy Lewandowski. Kathy is a familiar face. I don't know if you remember this, but we hired Kathy in January of 2020 as a instructional coach. And about 2 years ago, we had some things happen as in our country, in our state, in our county. And Kathy just was so instrumental from just the get-go about creating, all the things that we've had to do to make sure that school happened online and school happened in person. And she has done a tremendous job heading some of the already kind of gap bridging with tutoring, after-school tutoring, and just doing a tremendous job with our new teachers and coaching and teaching labs. And we just can't be happier to have her in this position. We think she's going to do just a phenomenal job. So I am recommending Catherine Gentry for social work and Kathy Lewandowski for NTSS coordinator.
Okay. We will take these motions separately. So first of all, can I have a motion and second that the board approve Catherine?
It's Catherine, but she goes by Katie.
Catherine Gentry, right? For the district social worker, which is a new position. So can I have a motion and a second for that one, please?
I'll move that.
Motion by Mark. Support from Chad. Questions or comments? Okay, all in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. Next, I can have a motion, please, that the board hire the new, excuse me. Can I have a motion, please, that the board accept the recommendation from Ann Armstrong to hire Kathy Lewandowski as our MTSS coordinator?
So moved.
Motion by Dawn.
Support.
Support from Steve. Questions or comments? I would just say we were very impressed by the presentation we saw at the work session. Very informative, data-driven, outcome-driven. Did a really nice job with that. So.
Thank you very much.
And will this will be a district-wide versus tied to a specific building?
No, district-wide coordinator.
This is district. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Other questions or comments? Okay. All in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Motion carried. Congratulations. Okay, last action item, retention incentive for staff. Are you talking to this?
Thank you. We discussed this at the last work session in some detail. Our recommendation hasn't changed and not received any questions or concerns, but I do want to recommend that we acknowledge the staff and the work they all have done, from teaching staff, paraprofessionals, food service, transportation, custodial maintenance, administrative assistants, our administrators, our directors, the work they've done over the past year that truly 2 years ago today, I know it wasn't the date, but it was the Thursday, the second Thursday in March, we all got to watch the news at night to find out we were shutting down school for 3 weeks only for COVID. Since that time, we didn't come back to school. We came back with remote learning. We came back with options. We came back with one-to-one. Our teachers, our support staff, our administrative assistants, our administrators, custodial maintenance, they move mountains. We would like to recognize the work that they've done. I know the board feels very strongly about the work that they have done. We're asking for an incentive for our staff for this current school year. We'd like to prorate it based on those that maybe didn't come, have been here all year, or maybe those that don't work the entire, full-time versus part-time. This is a request for an incentive for our staff for $1,300 per staff member to be paid in the next pay period, if approved by the board. I do want to acknowledge that this is not on behalf of the administration. If approved, this is truly on behalf of the Board of Education for their appreciation for what they've done. I know it's weird to ask you to approve this because I don't know who's gonna, I don't know how this works. So this is our recommendation to the board, and go from there.
Okay, we had a chance to review the details again in the last work session. So can I have a motion that the board approve the retention incentive for the staff as reviewed by Dr. Vanderjack?
No more.
Motion by Larry.
Support.
Support from Dawn. Questions or comments?
I do think none of us can really understand what you as a staff have been through, partly because we were not able to be present because of the risks. And truly, I know all of you have gone above and beyond, and your families. And I just want to thank you personally for that. And please pass that along.
Other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Okay, now we move on to report items. First up, we have revised budget for Bauer, ECC, and Park.
Thank you, Ken. So as a result of the conversations from work session that had to do with the controls, the other projects that, and along with the contingency budgets for the high school projects and the 5-6 building, I would say there was a very timely ask. Pat, what about the projects we have coming in the second round? The park is a significant amount of that building is going to be touched. Bauer has a good amount, and then ECC, once the wrestling program moves out to the high school and just other programs are moved around, we're going to be able to do, we got in a bond scope to do work there. So the ask was with the inflation, put together, ask OAK and you work on, just make sure we have enough money left, make sure the funds are there. And I would also note that we didn't know when we did the original 2019 bond application, all the growth in the district. So this essentially adds scope to the original bond scope to add, there are enough funds available to add the equivalent of 2 classrooms at Bauer, along with some bathrooms down one of the wings. So we haven't been through design yet, but this adds scope for that. So just all in the original bond scope for Park, the additional scope for Bauer, and the original scope for ECC, that's roughly $5.5 million if we add contingency in, and we do have funds in the project or in the bond budget to do that. So thanks for the ask. It was timely, and I'd like to thank Bryce is here and his colleague Chris Ford for their work on this budget. They got it done pretty quickly, and I appreciate their work.
Good. Questions, comments for Mr. Briggs on Bauer, ECC, and Park budget?
Do these changes require action, or if they're just information?
No, it was we just felt it was timely that the ask of the controls and just other things like where's that going to come from? The plan for this is we had bid day savings from the high school projects and the new 5-6 building, and this will be funded from that bid day savings.
In a normal environment, which we are not currently in, we would have budgeted these projects based on technically inflation moving forward. Things changed dramatically in the last several months, so we wanted to run numbers on what they will look like now as we dive into this work. On March 16 and 17, we begin the planning phases for Park Elementary and Bauer Elementary, and we wanted to get a good handle on what those numbers would look like before we look at spending some of these other approvals that you had tonight regarding the controls and the scoreboard and the storage facility and the Baldwin situation, to make sure that we had money allocated still to the 2 focused projects, which are Park and Bauer.
Chad, I noticed there's control replacement cost in here as well. Is that in addition, or is that in combination, or as part of the previous control?
Great question. So it's one of those bond budget accounting measures. The controls for these sites were pulled out of that bid. Good question.
Other questions or comments? Okay, thank you, Mr. Briggs.
Thank you.
Next up, we go to administrative updates. So who would like to kick us off this evening?
to get us started, I guess, since he handed me the microphone. I guess I would just reiterate what Mrs. Armstrong mentioned around all of the interviews that we've been doing to fill the positions, not only Kathy's position, but also then the MTSS building interventionists, and finding that a lot of time and energy is also being spent right now thinking through some of the MTSS systems work that will be done in the coming months in anticipation of next year as well, and really ensuring that that also is a cornerstone of the program moving forward. That's where we get the longevity and sustainability component of those MTSS interventionists as we move forward, as well as the short term of meeting students' needs in order to close those learning gaps that we know are present. So that has been a big part of the work that I've been doing since last time we talked.
So this year we've talked a lot about all the great things that have returned as we've been able to open up new opportunities. And last week we were able to bring back Unified Basketball, which is an event that is hosted at Baldwin, and it involves inviting other districts that host programs for students with cognitive impairments and other disabilities to play alongside their peers and be cheered on by their peers, and it's really just a beautiful, wonderful event. That was fantastic, and that will be followed by Special Olympics basketball in high school next week, where we will host that event with other participating districts, so that's really great to see come back. The other piece that I thought I would mention is that this week is National School Social Work Week, which is great. They do a million small great things every day to support the students and families and staff that they support. And so it's a great way to round out that week with the approval of an additional team member. So thank you so much for supporting that addition.
Is this on? Yeah, it's on. Okay. I will just mention, I think it was Tuesday, or was it Wednesday, that was National Women's Leadership Day. And I just want to big kudos to my fellow women leaders, including Barb and Dawn up there as leaders. So I just appreciate seeing, I don't know, I appreciate all our leadership, but since it was that day, I'll just say that too. But I just wanted to tell you that because of all these new positions, MTSS, PBIS, school librarian, just the list goes on and on and on of things that we approved and now we're posting, we have an amazing internal pool that are going for these jobs. And it is awesome because it takes a lot of guts to apply and put yourself out there for a new position. It takes even more to apply and interview in front of your colleagues. And I am just so proud of every single staff member that has brought themselves to the table, presented themselves so well, and they just are all doing so good. And we're having some great conversations for people that are moving on to possibilities, and we're having tough conversations, and everyone's doing it with such poise and professionalism. And I just and I know I tell you that the staff is awesome, and I know you know that, but it just makes me so proud to see people put themselves out there and try something new, and they're doing it. So for a variety of reasons. So it's nice to hear.
Good evening. I'm Randy Walde, principal at Georgetown. I'd just like to start echoing the comments that Dawn said when we were talking about that retention thing. The staff the last couple of years just been amazing, navigating really, I hate this word after the last years, but unprecedented circumstances and everything that comes up on a day-to-day basis, filling in for each other, teachers, paras, custodial, everybody in the building just stepping in and filling needs every single day, and it's been amazing to kind of be a part of that. It's stressful at times, but it's also very rewarding to see it when it comes together. Right now, elementary, this time of year, we just finished conferences last week. We had our book fair. You also talked earlier about having people back in the building, how great that is. It was just awesome those 2 nights, seeing so many parents in the building, both for conferences and at the book fair. Our kids, bought I don't know how many thousands of dollars worth of books and probably double that of posters and pencils, so that was really cool to see. We're getting ready right now. We're doing March's Reading Month at Georgetown and most of our buildings. We're doing a big book bracket, which is a lot of fun. I know Mr. Hall's going to come out in a couple weeks and do some mystery reading for some classes, so I'll pick out some really great books for him to read, unless you want to bring your own. It's up to you, or you can trust me. And then the other thing that we're kind of just getting into right now is some of our MSTEP prep. We'll start the MSTEP right after spring break, pretty much with 5th grade, and then leading into the other 2 grades. And then, you know, some of the challenges we're facing right now, we're in that kind of in-between season that we have in Michigan between winter and spring, which is called mud. And so we're trying to let the kids out and let them get rid of all that energy and not drag too much mud into the buildings and buses every day, which it's kind of a tap dance every day. So we're working on that, but it's a lot of fun.
Matt Bauer, Assistant Principal at Riley Street Middle School, representing Bill Ross, Principal at Riley. We had the great opportunity, I think, as we talk about returning to some sense of normalcy. We had an opportunity on both Monday and Tuesday to invite in our incoming 5th graders. We had 44 from Forest Grove, 83 from South, and I think 115 from Jamestown Upper. And just watching not only the 5th graders come in, their eyes wide open as they go down these bigger halls. The big excitement is the cafeteria food. Apparently, Riley's cafeteria food is better than all 3 of the elementaries. I have not experienced neither, so I won't have any comment to say on that, but the pizza was the big hit. But just to watch our students as they come into this building, I think with a lot of questions. We weren't able to do that last year, and we know that being in person and seeing each other and recognizing who our kids are and the adults that will be in front of them is just so important. So it was great to see them. The other thing is we have a lot of good mentors. Our 6th and 7th graders were able to not only lead them around the building and give them tours, but able to do Q&As and questions and lead them through cafeteria lines and what happens after those lunch periods. The last highlight I think I'll mention is music fittings. If you've never watched a 5th grader try to blow into different musical instruments, the sounds that come out are amazing and entertaining all into themselves. So we were just really thankful to see the incoming class and the ways our school is representing. So that's all I have.
Tracy Hordisky, Assistant Principal at Baldwin Street Middle School, on behalf of Ryan Greet, Principal at Baldwin Street. I'd like to echo Mr. Bear with the 5th grade visits. That was an exciting time for us to bring that back, and it really was kind of a bittersweet celebration in that it will really be our final 5th grade visit, as Baldwin Street will be transitioning to being a 7-8 building. And we really look forward to the collaboration with Mal coming in to make that transition and consider all the possibilities as we look at a 5, 6, and a 7, 8 building. As Mandy said too, with unified basketball, that is always thrilling and just pure joy. We added some extra excitement and made sure everybody was up to date on their evacuation skills for a fire drill that happened in there, and everybody did a beautiful job evacuating the building, adults and kids alike. Everybody looked out for each other. It's smooth sailing, so we're good there. Yes, book fair, conferences, we are so grateful for the partnership with our families and the way they work with our staff on behalf of our kids. We also are looking forward to Katie Gentry joining our team at Baldwin so she can support our students in a variety of ways, and for Kathy's leadership with MTSS. So, thank you.
Josh Mearsma, Bauer Elementary Principal. As Randy mentioned, I'll echo March's Reading Month is well underway at Bauer. Kids are really enjoying it. We have a Read Around America theme. One thing that we're doing is Read Around the School. So 3 times we're going to have students, all students in the building, transition to another classroom and visit. Some students will go past teachers or whatever. There's kind of a cap, so the teachers will cap it and then shut the door when the room is full, so students will have to go elsewhere. But a little chaos, but a lot of fun for kids to move around and get to hear other teachers read the books briefly, 10, 15 minutes. The conference period was great. We shared out a Google form with our stakeholders. It was a conference period shout out. We had 341 stakeholders fill out a certificate, which we then printed in the office to deliver to students and staff members to just say thank you. We had boxes to click what they were being recognized for, and there was an opportunity to fill in with some text. As I was picking these up off the printer, I did happen to see some of the feedback, and it was very touching and warming. The support that the students had from their parents and the support that the teachers had from the parents and the staff members had from parents was awesome. That's a really high participation rate. So I'm glad that people had an opportunity to do that. It was great to see people back in the building for conferences as well. And I will just say to the board that your gesture with the staff retention incentive is very kind and well-deserved on the part of the board. So thank you for recognizing that.
John Gillette, principal at Forest Grove. Just want to start by saying thank you to the school board just for your foresight. I feel like this last few weeks has been mentioned already by my peers is a time of preparation. So we're in the trenches working every day, but we're also planning ahead. So I meet with OAK tomorrow to talk about the final details of them coming in and moving some dirt at Forest Grove to build a gym, which is super exciting, and been involved with a lot of interviews, and it's just exciting with where we're at, where we're going, and lots more great things to come with that. And I just want to share too a couple of contrasts and experiences I've had this week. So the first has been, obviously we have a reading challenge going on. It's a cooperative endeavor with all of our students. That we're building a centipede, not a centipede, a caterpillar, because our theme is kind of the very hungry caterpillar around the school. And when we get to the final conclusion, if they make it in time, there's lots of dares that I'm going to have to submit to, and I'm pretty horrified by some of the suggestions that have been coming out, especially from our fifth graders. But in contrast to that, I was at Riley Street Middle School, and kudos to them for a fantastic job welcoming our fifth graders there. And it's probably the only place I ever get to walk into and I feel like I'm treated like a rock star. So all the 6th and 7th and 8th graders want to come and say hi, give you a hug, tell them how fantastic school is, how much better the food is at the middle school compared to the elementary school. And it was just a joy to be there to see how the kids that we brought were so excited about what's coming next. As well as the kids that are there and are thriving.
Jeremy Verwise, Jamestown Upper. And don't want to beat a dead horse with the March's Reading Month. I think that's going to be happening in all of our buildings. It is a focus every day. We've got 2 or 3 themed events every single week where kids are dressing up, reading in different areas, just having a riot. We're also doing the book bracket. Today was a pretty disappointing day for me. It was our first day of competition. And one of my favorite books went down in the first round. Within 10 minutes, I also found out Michigan, Indiana scored, so that was a downer. Luckily, tonight was a big one for me because thanks to Melanie, I am no longer the newest principal. I'm sure there are some technicalities there that I'm completely overlooking, but we're going to just ignore those for now. But I too would like to thank the board for the gift to the staff. The money will be very appreciated, but more it's just the acknowledgement of what teachers and staff have gone through over the last 2 years. So that's going to be much appreciated that they are valued and heard. So thank you, board.
Becky Van Sameren, the ECC. I would say very much the same. We enjoyed parent-teacher conferences last week. And it was just a wonderful thing to see the families and the kids in the hallways, the parents sitting outside waiting for the next conference to come. We were able to do a books and bingo night in the cafeteria during the same time as parent-teacher conferences were going on. So we had lots of kids at conferences because they went down to do the books and bingo and left with a book, and just a really neat opportunity for us to be together and enjoy the students and realize how hard bingo is for 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. But the parents did a great job of playing, and they all got a book and laugh. So it was a great day.
Dawn Harriman, principal at Park Elementary. I would like to highlight my 2nd grade team they went out of their way last week and created what they called Starbucks Cafe in all 3 of their classrooms, and they actually made aprons for each of the teachers, so they looked like a Starbucks barista, and they all said Starbucks on them. Every student's desk had a tablecloth and a donut and a cup that looked like a Starbucks cup, and then they had a book menu to choose from, and that kicked off their March's Reading Month. And so the entire day they had all sorts of Starbucks-related activities and things around this cafe theme, which was just a fun thing for the kids and took a ton of extra time for the teachers, but I actually sometimes think they're kind of crazy because they're so excited about things like this, but they couldn't have had more fun with it and stayed up till 3 in the morning making aprons. I did not get an apron though, so that was my one complaint. So next year I'm gunning for my own apron. And the other comment with March is Reading Month, a slight, maybe it's not a slight, another COVID silver lining is we've had, I think most of our buildings do mystery readers every year for March's Reading Month, which is really fun. But with COVID, we've learned how to use virtual tools so much, and it has been so fun to see some of our kids have a mystery reader show up on the computer where it's a grandparent from California or a former teacher. We have a couple of new students who got a pretty complicated transition, and we had one of their special people show up as a mystery reader in a virtual form. So that's been kind of a fun way to connect with kids and people around the country in a new way.
Mackenzie Stefanich, the principal at Jamestown Lower. I echo a lot of the same excitement around March's Reading Month and having families in for conferences. Congratulations to Kathy and Mel on your new positions. We're so excited to welcome you there. I think I just want to highlight how good it feels in our buildings right now. We have families and parents and community members coming in more than ever before in the last 2 years, and it's feeling so good. And when you walk through the building, instead of feeling this like it's just us and we're not mixing classes and don't look across the hall and just all these protocols that we no longer have to have in place, it's just feeling so much more like the Hudsonville community inside of our walls that we have missed. So it's great to have our board members and our central office staff and our families and our visitors just roaming the halls again. So I just want to share how good it feels and how far we've come.
Hi, I'm Melanie LeClaire, principal at Allward through the end of the year, and I'm really excited to be the new 5-6 building principal at Georgetown. It was definitely a bittersweet meeting with staff today. Lots of tears. I could cry again. But I thank you, the board, for entrusting me on this new adventure. It's super exciting. I'm really excited to build relationships with our families and just really help this special group of kids. 5-6 ages, the 5th and 6th are just a special group. And I think this building is going to be phenomenal for them. They kind of don't fit in with the elementary anymore, and they don't necessarily fit the mold of a junior high with 7th and 8th graders. So I think our district is moving in such a great direction for these kids. We've also been participating in March's Reading Month. It's super fun, like Dawn had said, with just the virtual aspect. We've been able to incorporate our specials teachers, and they recorded themselves reading books and got to share it. So they don't sometimes get to be a part of some of the fun things that classroom teachers are doing. So it's just been really exciting to have them be more of a part. And our kids get super excited to see them reading books to them too. And then we've also, our kindergarten team has done a great job. They've invited lots of parents to come in to do read books to them for March's Reading Month. So just like Mackenzie said, it's been awesome to have parents back in the building, and it just seems more normal. And we're looking at getting back into our cafeteria after spring break, which is also going to bring a lot of fun back to school. We haven't been in there in 2 years to today. So it's going to be loud and maybe a little scary for some friends, but we're going to help them transition back in and get some more normalcy back into our work. So thank you again for the opportunity. I'm just really excited about it.
Bringing us home.
Thanks. I just would like to congratulate Melody and Kathy on their new positions. Just look forward to your continued excellence in these new roles. So, congratulations.
All set?
Yes, thank you.
All right, move on to superintendent report.
Thanks. Just a few items. Next week, at the end of next week, Into the Woods, our high school musical will be going on. If you're interested in going to that, I encourage you. It's a They're doing kind of an abbreviated version, I would say. It's about an hour and 15 minutes. So if you're not into the 3-hour Les Mis production, you have an hour and 15 minutes. You want to see the what's that's next week, Wednesday through Sunday. For the first time since the pandemic, our attendance rates are back to where they were pre-pandemic. We are right around 98%, barring the day before spring break or some kind of holiday or the protest of no snow day. We're normally around 98%. We are back to the 98%. So I want to thank our families for their commitment to getting their kids to school. Spring sports do start next week, Monday, so we've now made it through, for the most part, 2 full seasons, and we're on to the spring sports, which start next Monday. And I know our outdoor coaches are pretty fired up about 60 to 65 degree weather that's coming here at the end of next week. I do want to thank Mrs. Stefanich for being here tonight and wish her a happy birthday because there's other things she could be doing on her birthday, so thanks for being here on your birthday. We had a state champion in wrestling this past weekend, Connor McAllery, a freshman at 103, won the state title. So at the next board, at the next board meeting, we're going to invite him to come. If that doesn't work, we'll find a future board meeting we could recognize him for his accomplishments, not only in the classroom, but on the mat and the work that he did to receive that recognition. And this afternoon, or this morning, a team from Hudsonville with our Director of Safety and Security, Mike Petrolia, Eric Naderveld, Ann Armstrong, Melissa Bernard, myself, our resource officer, attended some training at Ottawa Area ISD. And we spent a lot of time training about incidences that would take place in our school system. We spent the entire time working on how to work through reunification sites, which was a whole other layer. So it's a great conversation, a lot of work, gave us some ideas and some thoughts. We have evacuation sites, primary and secondary, for all of our buildings. Heaven forbid we need them, but we spend a lot of time working through what does that look like on site, how do parents get their kids, what does that look like in the sense of, doing this in a calm nature is one thing. You can imagine it really goes up a level when something were to happen. I was explaining that me working through this drill would look substantially different than my wife going through the drill looking for our son. That it's real, and it was very. It brings us back to a lot of work that we still need to do. So it was a good day. With that is it.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Any of them? Okay, great. Thanks for the updates. Next, we move on to recognition of visitors and hearing the people present. I believe we have some individuals who would like to register to address the board this evening. So, Robin Vanderberg, we'll call your name to come up. A reminder, 3 minutes, please, is the max time to address the board. Please address comments to the board. And if you're all set with the timer, we'll go ahead and Robin can call the first individual.
Lee D. Huff.
Good evening. First thing, kudos to Mark Davis. Mark, I appreciate that you spoke with the courage of your convictions. Thank you for doing that. In December, I gave the board a test, and in January, I went through all the answers except for the bonus question. So I'd like to go back to the bonus question and ask that again and give you the answer. The answer is, or the question is, who does this instruction manual say is responsible for the education of children? For the answers, first of all, in the book of Proverbs, chapter 1, hear, my son, your father's instruction, and do not forsake your mother's teaching. Then in the book of Ephesians, chapter 6, fathers, bring your children up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. So the answer is the parents. They have the responsibility. It's not a woman named Randy Weingarten of the American Federation of Teachers. It's not the NEA, and it's not politicians. A politician in the state of Virginia learned that the hard way for his gubernatorial campaign, and he lost as a result of that. It's not this board, it's not the administrators, it's not the teachers, it's Parents, I hope we can all agree on this. You all have a supporting role to the parents. Last meeting in February, there was a young lady who stood up and talked about listening to experts. And I thought about that, and I said, well, what about Noah? What if he had listened to the experts who were the experts of his day about weather? Would he have ever built the ark? What about a shepherd boy named David? If he had listened to the military experts of his day, would he have gone out against the giant named Goliath with just a shepherd's sling and some smooth stones? And the worst example is the Pharisees. In the time that Jesus walked this earth, they were the experts in the law. They had the law analyzed backwards and forwards, and yet they hated him. And they cried out for his death, and they organized a mob so that he would be crucified. So I don't have much time for experts. I don't trust them. They have their own agenda. And for me, a good teacher is a teacher who can also be taught, not someone who calls himself an expert.
Thank you for your comments, sir. I appreciate it.
Running out of time again.
Thank you.
See you next month.
Robin, next.
Lisa Bash.
Hi. As a parent of 3 high school students, I am speaking again just because I felt the need to clarify after media and others commented on our concerns regarding the books The Kite Runner and Half of a Yellow Sun. One, I just wanted to thank Hudsonville administration for taking Half of a Yellow Sun off the book club reading list. We were told the decision was made based on age appropriateness and educational value, and the book would remain on the library shelves. Parents were very content until we learned that the library shelves also meant classroom shelves. Why keep several copies of a book in classrooms that you just agreed wasn't age appropriate? The response I was given was, well, some parents are okay with it. What about Hudsonville? Shouldn't a school also have a standard? We have appealed just that decision. Second, our concerns are not part of some group agenda to ban books. We were asked to consent to these books on separate occasions for different children. We reviewed the book as we were told, and we were just shocked by what we found, and we did not want to be in this position. 3, we have never made this personal against any of our teachers or staff. We have supported our teachers and taught our kids to respect them, which they do. We have many friends who work in this district. This is about Hudsonville needing leadership and a policy to protect the minds of minors from adult content. It's disappointing that teachers in my children's classrooms are mentioning the school board meetings and that parents are trying to ban books and take away their freedoms. 4, we are not trying to shelter students from tough historical realities which have included wars and violence. In fact, our complaints regarding these 2 books are not about the historical events at all, but regarding the graphic sexual content or graphic boy rape by sodomy of fictional characters. Let us not forget both books are historical fiction. Half a Yellow Sun has 14 chapters containing graphic scenes describing consensual, lustful sex. Graphic details of erections, climaxes, masturbation, oral sex, how swollen he was in her mouth, how long he lasted or didn't last. And when you read these scenes in my kid's book, it's astonishing, honestly. Even a well-respected retired English teacher has spoken against material like this. And lastly, I just wanted to say it was mentioned that Hudsonville failed at teaching diversity here. Myself, my sister, and both of our husbands graduated from Hudsonville. We went on to graduate from large public universities. I played Big Ten athletics for 4 years. My teammates became my second family, came from different states, ethnicities, economic statuses, and sexual orientations. I had no problems engaging with all my teammates and we are friends to this day despite our vast differences. I was able to do this not because of any kind of training, but because of the characteristics taught by my parents, this school, my church, and my community built in me.
Thank you, ma'am.
To work hard, to be kind, and treat others with respect.
Thank you, ma'am, for your comments. Next, Robin.
Aaron Doobie.
Greetings, board. Not to be the guy that stands up and quotes Game of Thrones, but I'm remembering the line of, "No one is happy, it must be a great compromise." I feel like that kind of encapsulates a lot of the work that has happened throughout the past couple of years. All of you have done a very good job of walking a fine line of very difficult circumstances and knife-edge situations, especially Dr. Vanderjack and the rest of the board. So well done. Wanted to come up and say we support you. I know a lot of times lots of people aren't happy, but there's no way to please everyone, and I think you all have done a very good job of figuring out how to best move us forward. So thank you all, and especially Dr. Vanderjack, thank you with your evaluation. I look forward to seeing you guys continue to work and serve all of our children going forward. Thank you.
Great, thank you for your comments. Next, Robin.
Kathy Beist.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Beist. I'm the mother of 3 children. 2 are graduates of Hudsonville and 1 is currently in high school. I'm also a chemical engineer and director of manufacturing at a Grand Rapids pharmaceutical company, and I'm responsible for 75 team members. All 3 of my kids have had very positive experiences at Hudsonville. What I respect most about the district is the learning that my kids have received outside of the classroom. As one example, one of my kids applied for the summer science program but wasn't selected. She was a bit crushed, but didn't give up on participating in extracurricular activities. She got to know that teacher who led the summer science program better the next fall when he coached her in cross country. At one point he said to her, "I'm sorry that I didn't know you and your strong character better when you applied for the summer science program. You should have been selected." I think she learned more from that conversation than she did out of participating in summer science. The teacher was being authentic and modeled for her what integrity looks like. Those are the types of teachers that we have in the district, and I know that the superintendent and the principals foster that environment. Thank you, Dr. Vanderjack, for what you do for the district. I know that the compliments and thank yous are few, and the complaints and the criticisms are many. I'm sure you never had a class that taught you how to lead through a pandemic, especially a divisive one. It was a no situation, no win situation, and yet you tirelessly pressed on, worked with the board, and made the best decisions for the students and for the district. I don't know you personally, but I don't have to respect what you have done. Again, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Robin?
Paxton Duncan.
My name is Paxton Brechting. I'm a freshman here at the high school. I've been coming to these board meetings for the last 6 months with my family. We've come to educate ourselves, but also because of specific concerns regarding diverse reading materials. As an 8th grader, I was one of the lucky students who landed in Miss Labarda's ELA class. The library was marvelous and helped shape me as a student, fellow human, and global citizen. Last fall, I had the opportunity to serve as a representative for the class of 2025 during homecoming. During those weeks, a number of well-meaning adults reminded me that this was a privilege and encouraged me to use my voice. Well, here I am. Honestly, it was a great experience, but the reality is that I don't represent the class of 2025 or the greater high school student body. I'm a white, cisgender male from a middle-class family. Our student body includes a diversity of ethnicity, gender identity, sexual orientation, and income, just to name a few. It is essential that students have access to material that expands their thinking, fosters empathy, and prepares us for our futures. For most of us, that's a world beyond the 49426 zip code. It is also vital that all students, not just the majority, have the opportunity to see themselves in the material that we receive. Representation matters. A quick peek at the HPS website reveals that the mission of HPS is to educate, challenge, and inspire all learners to become contributing, responsible members of a global society. For the parents and members of the community who are concerned about materials offered to students, I have a few suggestions. Talk to us, or better yet, read along with us. Help us expand our critical thinking. If you are truly concerned about the material students are exposed to, may I respectfully suggest that your efforts may be better spent by coordinating a team of parent volunteers to serve as chaperones on buses in the halls. In my experience, you are far more likely to hear more actionable content during a bus ride or school passing time than reading the highly acclaimed books currently being discussed. To you, the board, thank you for doing this job. From what I'm learning, it's not an easy one. These past years have been especially difficult. I have a request for you as well. Please maintain your trust in the amazing teachers and staff. You approved hiring them based on credentials and experience. Please don't stop trusting them to craft and direct their learning. There's a procedure in place for parents to opt out for their students and raise their concerns. Please don't limit the opportunities of the entire student body based on the beliefs and concerns of select parents. I'd like to end with a recent post from author Baratunde Thurston. When we ban books in schools before we ban guns, we admit they are more afraid of our children learning than we are of them dying. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I think that's all we have for public comments. So we will do a roundtable with the board and then adjourn. Chad, comments?
Just thank you to the staff. Grateful that we've got the opportunity to recognize all of the collective staff of the district, and hope that that message goes out with gratitude. Been reflecting, I know on a lot of votes, we're a 7-0 board, and we go unanimous on a lot of decisions. That wasn't the case on all of them tonight. Mark, I do appreciate you being candid with your comments. I struggle a bit as I reflect with any characterization, though, that there was anything other than thorough debate, thorough discussion, and that there was anything inappropriate about the way that we went about conducting the evaluation. Quite the contrary, as you said, we spent many, many hours in debate and discussion. I think we thoroughly took the opportunity to understand everybody's viewpoint, and at the end of it realized we were not a consensus decision as evidenced by our vote tonight. But I appreciate that you shared your viewpoints. Respectfully, I disagree with any characterization that there was anything inappropriate or anything other than us following the process comprehensively, lawfully in the way that we approached it.
Thank you, Chad. I would just echo what you had to say. And again, thank you to all the fellow board members who had very honest and robust conversations for the last few months. We spent hours, and even though we didn't all agree, I thank you all for really putting a lot of effort into this, because we do care. And thank you, Doug, for your flexibility and your patience.
I just want to thank all the teachers. I know how hard it has been for the last 2 years. I know how challenging it can be to have to change how you teach. And once you change it and students come back and you're still dealing with COVID, and you still have to make sure that they meet all of the, or in my case, course objectives. So I understand how hard it is, and I do want to say thank you, because I know how hard you have all worked. I want to thank all my fellow board members. We did spend a lot of time talking about the evaluation, I do support what Mark said. We did an evaluation and then we went back and changed things because we didn't like the outcome. So I want to support Mark. I am sure it was not easy for him to verbalize his thoughts, but I want him to know that I do support what he said.
Mackenzie, thanks for the invitation to come down to your school and read to the children. You know, I spent virtually my whole life in public speaking, and all of a sudden I'm asked to speak to some first graders, and I'm scared out of my mind. But my wife was helpful. She helped me select some books, and we actually had two lovely books, but one of them was based on a Tolstoy short story, which I really enjoyed particularly. But charming time. Thanks for the invitation. It was very exciting for me.
Bella and Kathy, congratulations on your new positions. Very well deserved. It's always nice to see people who invested so much already in the district be recognized and promoted into new positions. And I would echo Chad's comments as well. I'm totally aligned with the statements that he's made. And the other person I'd like to thank is Ken. Thank you for how you conducted yourself. A difficult process that you led us through. Thank you.
I'm good.
All right. With that, can I have a motion to adjourn, please? Motion by Chad.
Support.
Support from Steve. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.